much for tuning into a they're all special, but this one's extremely special episode of the Axe and Scalpel podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Johnny V. I'm joined in studio with veterinarian and my friend, Dr. Jacob Smith, and we have a special guest for you today. Go ahead, introduce him, Jacob.
All right. Yeah, welcome back to the podcast, guys. And I'm excited today to tackle a subject that is front and center of what we discuss culturally and in public. And we have got the perfect guest to talk about those things today. So today our guest is Reverend Tom Stamman. Tom, welcome to the Axe and Scalpel podcast, sir.
So good to be here. Thank you.
So, Tom, I'm going to give you a little introduction here so the people get to know who you are. So, Tom, you are the founder and CEO of Impact Ministries International. Tom is described as an evangelist, preacher, speaker, teacher, and as a blue-collar prophet. I like that. He received a BS in Pastoral Studies from North Central Bible College and is the author of 8 books. He and his wife, Teresa, are involved in a multitude of Christian ministries, including but not limited to evangelistic outreach, providing medical care in underserved areas, safe housing for victims of human trafficking, providing coaching and opportunity for those who need a quote-unquote hand up, and maybe most famously, the establishment of the life-changing City of Refuge near Comayagua, Honduras. The City of Refuge serves as an orphanage and boarding school for the poverty-stricken children of that region of Honduras. But to say that is all it does might be the understatement of the year, and we will get to the COR more later. Tom, thanks for being here. Did I cover it on the intro?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right, perfect.
You even pronounced the city in Honduras correctly.
That's a long word. All the student loans didn't give me the best vocabulary, Johnny, so we do what we can here. So to get things started, Tom, I want to just have you tell us a little bit more about your biography. You know, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, about your life as a kid, and kind of ultimately what led you to a life in Christian ministry, if you would.
Yeah, I was raised in a town called Rochester, Minnesota, and went to Bible school in Minneapolis, and I began to travel around the world teaching people how to evangelize and share their faith. And then we got involved in ordaining people. So we've now ordained over 900 people in 30 nations. And 3 of the top 100 evangelists in the world actually are ordained with us. So excited about the evangelistic things that we do. And one of the big things we started is a city in Honduras. We built our own city. We started with nothing. We now have 268 acres. We have, as of March, we have 96 buildings. And so we have 100 children full-time. We have 100 employees. We have one of the top farms in Honduras. So there are 3 agricultural colleges in Honduras. 2 of them send their students to our farm because we have 9 engineers on staff. So we feed 15,000 people a day protein from our farm, 1,000 people a day fruit, and 10,000 people a day vegetables from the farm that we have with 44 types of food. And so we are impacting the nation by building cities. People across the globe send their people to our place to learn how to build a Christian city.
It's amazing. And believe it or not, this place actually exists. Sometimes, Tom, I hear you tell people your story and people look at you like, is that actually real? Can somebody actually do that? But I can tell you as a firsthand witness, the City of Refuge is real, folks. And I want to go back just a little bit, though, Tom, because what you've done is so incredible. And so I think people need to get to know you and what led you down the road, you know, towards this kind of venture. I mean, what was life like for you as a kid, and what got you into Christian ministry overall and led you down the road to make the level of difference you are now?
Well, my mother made us go to church. She said, either go to church or I'll break your legs. I prayed about it, and I felt let it go.
I like this lady.
That was, yeah. I was raised Catholic. Did send out a mass text last week. Anyway, and so we went to a Bible camp in a state called Missouri. It's near St. Louis, and went down there, and long and behold, I was 17. I gave my life to Jesus at that Bible camp. And a lady walked up and said, I see you in Colombia. I'm like, all right, Colombia. Back in the 70s, everybody wanted to go to Colombia. Yeah. Not for Christian reasons.
Hang with Pablo. Right?
Yeah. And so I went to Colombia, and I got in trouble with the missionaries for not being good. But God rocked me down there and called me in the ministry. And I never forgot about the starving children in Colombia. And that's bothered me ever since. I hate to see people suffer. That's why we do safe houses. That's why we rescue kids. We help people that are starving. because I can't stand to see people suffer and do nothing.
So you recognize from a young age the difference in quality of life and what we're blessed with here in America versus what the type of life somebody might live in Latin America or Central America.
Absolutely.
How difficult was it for you to relocate or to go down to Colombia?
The process getting there was my first trip out of the country. We were on a back of a pickup truck, and they were talking about how they're going to kill us. And so they said, you need to pray. So I prayed my favorite prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep if I die before I get out of here. But I had a machete, so I felt like Tommy Rambo, and I'm taking one of them with me. But we prayed, and they changed their mind, and they didn't kill us. So that was I've had 5 death opportunities, kind of like Charlie Kirk went through. People have brought guns to kill me. And just God's helped me, and bikers have come to my home and walked inside looking to kill me. So it's been dangerous, but exciting.
So, I mean, obviously you've dedicated then a huge chunk of your life to making a difference for the people of, Latin America or Central America. Was it just simply a timing thing with your venture to Colombia that got the whole thing started, or was there some other reason that you had a heart in that area of the world?
It got started, this isn't very spiritual, but I always thought Latinas were really cute. So I can't.
It's a solid reason for a young man, right?
And so really the big reason we're in Honduras is my wife, Dr. Teresa, who's from Peru, which I know we probably talk about her later, but it was her influence to get us to go to Honduras. She's in Peru right now building a medical clinic, 4-story building, and it's her dream. So marrying a Latino wife has helped out to really have a heart for that part of the world.
Yeah, obviously that makes a difference. And you have a Latino child as well.
Do.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very beautiful child. Yes, baby Esther. And so, the most well-known part of your ministry, of course, nowadays, and of course, you've got other parts of your ministry that are really growing too, but is the City of Refuge. Tell us a bit about the history there and what led you to form that.
So I went on a mission trip to Honduras to check it out to see if we could buy some land. And we got lost looking for property. And we went out to a garbage dump, and I saw kids eating garbage. And that wrecked my life. I can't imagine people eating garbage. What wrecked it even worse is when the lawyer said, and if they don't find food to eat, the girls will be sold into trafficking. And that wrecked my life. My wife and I could have retired 15 years ago. Now we can never retire. And so I went down there. We rented a facility. That didn't work out. Somebody gave us land. We built a facility. That didn't work out. Then we bought 90 acres, and now we built 92 buildings on that 260 acres that we bought.
So let's talk about that very first mission trip then. What brought you there to Honduras? Was it just your wife's experience, or what led you there in the first place?
Her sister was living in Honduras, and she talked about the sex trafficking way before Rambo, way before the movie Taken, Sound of Freedom. Nobody talked about it back in those days.
And so you guys show up down there. You're kind of not sure how you're going to make a difference, but we've got to see this for ourselves, and we've got to do something. That's kind of where it started.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. And so somebody takes you by a local garbage dump, and there is kids, you said, eating out of the garbage. Describe that a little bit, just so people get a reality of what you were faced with the first time you saw that.
So we went down there and we butchered 80 chickens and let it sit in bags for 3 days, black bags in the sun. Went to the garbage dumps. We kicked the bags off the trucks, and we almost stunk so bad. And kids came and ran and ate the garbage out of the bags that made us throw up.
So the chickens you had just essentially gutted and cleaned, the kids were eating that.
Oh, raw, gross. Yeah. It was horrible. And I just so we started feeding 20 single moms a month, $5 worth of food, which is nothing, $100. But back then that was a lot of money for us. And then we found 8 kids wandering in the streets all by themselves, and they followed them to an abandoned house. 8 little kids, oldest was 5, and we had to start an orphanage. So with no money, we found a place to.
Okay. And so what did that look like? You just rented space, you found a local house, people were willing to let you help out. What did that look like in the beginning?
It was a 5-room building, ugly, downtown Comayagua. It was the best we could do. We didn't have a lot of money. And thank God one of my friends gave me $25,000 to help start building another building. And since then, we poured in probably over $20 million to Honduras.
My goodness. So, Johnny, I don't know about you, but I grew up a little bit differently than the kids in Honduras.
Yeah, the bags that they weren't filled with chickens. And with that climate, that's warm.
Yeah. So I imagine you're talking flies everywhere, stuff you think you see in documentaries, and it's probably not real, but it's real.
Well, the death rate for those kids in the garbage dump was 80%.
Oh, my goodness.
So that alone makes you get sick to your stomach.
It's just going to be based on diet, eating stuff that's
Yeah,
going to kill.
imagine parasitism. Your wife probably attests to this, but imagine parasitism, bacterial infections, the basic things we take for granted is probably rampant there.
Yep.
When it came to the construction of that first building, how were you able to get some help?
So my friend from Georgia I just met randomly. It's a long story, but anyway, he gave me 25 grand, and then we raised probably about another 100. But then the neighbors started throwing rocks at our kids. They were jealous or whatever. So we bought 90 acres, and on that 90 acres, one day God said, I want you to build me a city. And we had 3 buildings, and now by March we'll have 96 buildings on the property.
So yeah, if you can get a little more detailed in on that. So you started literally, this house in middle of Comayagua,
Yep.
crime going on around you, obviously. And so you move from that to what you have now. Can you talk a little bit about the progression then of that process and how you went about going that? I know just from our personal friendship, I mean, you're preaching every day of the year, raising money for this thing. How did you get that all started? How did you find the funds?
So it started with nothing. Yeah. So this is actually our third location. The second location was a place that was donated, and we put probably about $125,000 worth of investment into that place. And the neighbors just were horrible. So we ended up buying 90 acres and built a dorm for the boys, dorm for the girls, and then built a dorm for the little kids, and then a school, and then we have a top 10 sports facility in Honduras.
Yeah, which I've seen firsthand. It's incredible, and just to, I mean, you probably don't think about small things like this, but just to share my personal experience at your place is I was down there, and when everybody else was away, the events that I was helping referee, et cetera, and your sports events were being put away for the day, and I'm sitting outside of your hotel for missionaries in the middle of mountains on Honduras, and this little girl comes up to me and doesn't speak the same language as me, tugs on my shirt, points at the soccer field, right? And so I go on the soccer field, she points at the goal, wants me to play goalie. And so here I am, like it looks like a scene out of National Geographic where you are and in the mountains, and I'm on the soccer field and just playing goalie for this little girl who's probably 9 or 10 years old, right? And it's like one of those moments in your life where you're never going to forget that, right? And so I was blessed by that experience. I mean, obviously your kids are blessed, but the people that come to the City of Refuge get blessed too.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've had over 2,000 people come to our place. We have our own hotel. Yeah. And we have a chef named Caesar, makes a great salad.
I think I met him. I think he moonlights at Walmart here in Ladysmith, actually.
Do you enjoy anchovies on your Caesar salads?
So City of Refuge, you start out, you found a couple of different spots, then you settle on 90 acres. Yep. What does the City of Refuge look like in the beginning, and what's it look like in 2025?
90 acres, and we had one house full of bats. We called it the Bat House. And then we built from there, like I said, 92 structures. We have 9 orphanage buildings. By March, we'll have our own grocery store, fitness center. We have a school. We have a top 10 farm in the whole nation. People around the world come.
Swimming pools.
3 swimming pools.
Yeah. So basically an empty 90 acres and a dream. And now, what did you say, 95 buildings?
By March, it'll be 96 buildings.
I was going to ask you, I was looking at some stuff earlier. At the time I was reading it, I believe the information said you had about 80 buildings. How many buildings are you making about a year over there?
We do about 7 or 8 a year.
No kidding. Okay.
There. And we also build in Missouri too. So we have 15 buildings in Missouri on our city we're building there.
Well, what I wanted to get into with you next here, Tom, is the immigration issue, because I'm kind of the mindset, you listen to these arguments, you watch people battle it out on social media, they battle it out on Fox, they battle it out on CNN, and I kind of am the mindset, if you're going to have an opinion on these things, either you've got to be involved directly, or you've got to have some sort of direct source that gives you some insight, because otherwise all everybody's ever doing is spewing the hate or the facts that they pick up off of whatever station they choose, whatever station is bent towards their, the narrative that they want to fill. And so I thought it was important to talk to you because you're right there on the front lines of the immigration issue. And so what I wanted to bring for the people here, and Tom can talk a little bit about this, was just some simple statistics here on the country of Honduras. Between 2010 and 2021, approximately 662 migrants hit the U.S. border from Honduras. There are currently an estimated 1.1 million migrants living in the U.S. that are currently from that country. Honduras has averaged 38 homicides per 100,000 people per year recently. That's down from 80. So it was one of the highest, still one of the highest in the world, but it was the highest in the world. The U.S. State Department considers Honduras a level 3 safety threat, means you should reconsider your travel if you have an intent to go there. For most of the country, some of the country is level 4. Simply do not travel to those regions, and that's due to the noted gang activity, crime, narco and human trafficking, among all the other ungodly things you can imagine. In 2022, the Honduran government actually suspended constitutional rights in 226 of the 298 municipalities in the country, just to try to make some sort of effort to get crime under control. Talk to us a little bit about your experience in Honduras and the type of conditions and the crime that people are living under there.
So it's the second poorest country this side of the earth next to Haiti, which is way worse. And so the crime was horrible. El Salvador was worse, which is a neighboring country, but that guy shaped it up in like 1 year, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so our place is safe. Honduras is dangerous, but our place is safe. We have 10-foot high walls with razor wire. We have armed guards named Smith & Wesson.
Amen.
Dogs. We have cameras, and nobody bothers us because we're the number one, one of the top farms, and we have number one employer. And so the neighbors protect us too.
Sure.
But it can be a dangerous. We've never had any problems there. Anybody's ever come to our place. But at one time, it was the worst murder rate in the world, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people want to escape out of the country at that time. But things are getting way better.
Way better. And so I guess you could tell us too a little bit about when you started out. I mean, you tell the story about going to the garbage dumps and seeing these kids starving. What was life, what is life like in the city of Comayagua, for instance? Can you kind of paint that for people so they have an understanding of the, especially the differences between what we're blessed with here in our country?
It was an extremely poor city. It was over 100,000 people, and people living in garbage dumps and living in one-bedroom little houses. And COVID didn't help that at all either, making people stay home without air conditioning or electronics. And it was just a horrible time. However, the place we're at, and we rescue kids from all across the country, so it's not just our location. They put the international airport in the city we're in, and that's making a huge difference. So we have new housing all around our area. I mean, it's not like here in America, but it's not the way it used to be in the city we're in. Now, there's other locations that are horrible, but because of the airport, they've cleaned up a lot in our area.
So as they start to modernize and infrastructure gets built, miraculously, and I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, miraculously, as the country improves, the conditions for the people are improving.
Absolutely.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Can you, any stories stick out, in terms of the poverty? Obviously, the garbage dump is something that, shocks anybody who hears the story, but anything that you've witnessed or experienced that really sticks out over your 20 plus years, involved in that country?
So the first 8 kids we took, one girl was 4 years old and weighed 12 pounds. We thought she was 1 year old, but she could talk perfect. And so we took custody of her and these other children living on a mattress. 8 kids, 3 of them not potty trained, so they're doing their thing on the mattress. And that was our first rescue, named Wendy. And then we took in another girl that was 3 years old and probably weighed 7 pounds.
Oh, my goodness.
And we thought she was an infant. She couldn't feed herself. She was 3 years old. She could talk, but she couldn't do anything. So we took her in, and she grew to 16 pounds in 1 month. And we have a picture of her raising a little hand, a video praising Jesus, and she got pneumonia and passed away. And so her name was Reina. And so my daughter that we've had at age 55, her name is Esther Reina, as a remembrance for the...
That's beautiful. Yeah. So, I think, Johnny, you or I, or anybody listening to this could understand why you developed a passion right away.
But that's a great one. We see these things, not necessarily as graphic as you have, but you did something about it. When you saw that in Honduras the first time, it obviously got at your heart. Did you happen to ask questions if anybody has even attempted to do what you are doing now? Were there people that have tried and failed?
Oh, yeah. Orphanages are really hard to maintain. There are whole denominations that have 0 orphanages. If you were to look, no offense, into churches' budgets and what amount of money they put toward orphanages, almost all of them give nothing to orphanages. But the Bible says it's pure religion. And so it's a sad thing. And so the lack of caring, if I think about it too much, will just paralyze you.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that really has stuck out, my scripture reading lately, and that's just so obvious, right? Jesus, speaks to it directly.
Yes.
Right? You fed me when I was hungry, right? You clothed me when I had no clothes, right? You healed me when I was sick, etc. And it's like we couldn't get clear mandates to do things like this. The immigration out of Honduras, obviously, is still a significant problem. It presents a problem for people north of them in Mexico. It presents a problem for the U.S. border. Why, in your view, are people still, in big numbers? Obviously, it's changed in the last 4 months, but prior to that, why are people leaving Honduras to come to the U.S. border?
Well, it's because they want better paying jobs and they want to have a safer society and more opportunities. And the United States is a land of opportunities, no doubt about it. The solution, government-wise, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, later, is not to come to America. That is not the solution. And what's happened is it's a drain on their best workers are now in America. And so the economy continues to suffer because they're here.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And I do want to get into that as we go here. In terms of the migration then north of the border, I know people come from south of Honduras and they come through the country itself. What are some of the consequences? I know I've been in places where you've been speaking before and you've shown some pretty graphic footage. Talk to us a little bit about what you witnessed, what you're hearing on the ground, of what the actual consequences are when mass migration is encouraged up through the Central American corridor through Mexico.
So number one is that they're draining the talent of the nation is going to America. And so how's that country ever going to rebound back with old people and just kids?
Sure.
And so they need to be there. And secondly, some of our kids have actually graduated, left, and came to America. One was kidnapped, and who knows how many horrible things happened to her. Another guy was killed. That was out of our orphanage. So they took the risk to go, and they were killed on the way.
Yeah. And so imagine that people who are trying to make that happen, they get taken advantage of. There's crime is rampant. What are some of the reports then you're getting of people who are making this attempt?
Well, they're getting raped. They're getting their money stolen. They're getting killed. They're on top of a train. Give me my money and I'll throw you off the train. And we have pictures of that. Of course, one of our videos of little kids that were killed by the sex traffickers. Sick.
Yeah. And that's one of the things as I was looking at this a little bit, I remember seeing your pictures. So there, and maybe you can provide a little more detail on this. There is a train, they call it the train of death or the beast, where immigrants from Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, etc., Mexico are hopping on this thing. And they're, am I correct? They're literally riding. This isn't like a train with food and beverage and everything. They're literally riding on top of this thing for hundreds of miles.
And so then they come across the border and they owe the cartels money. So we actually rescued a couple running from the cartel named Joseph and Mary. And they didn't pay their $25,000. And we had to hide them and protect them from the cartel. So they're not even safe if they come to America. The cartel wants their money. And then you've got people in the last administration that don't care. What was it? 380,000 kids are missing that came across the border, and they don't care. And they don't know where they're at, but we do. Because we get phone calls saying, hey, there's a child that needs to be rescued. There's a person that needs help.
So it's not as black and white as either party says, because if you encourage the mass migration like that, you obviously have the consequences to America and the demographics of America, et cetera, and there's going to be changes there naturally. But when you encourage the mass migration, what people don't realize is the mass amount of danger then you're exposing these people to.
Exactly. They're risking their life, and they bring a daughter or son, and the cartel are evil.
That's it. They say don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. But you mentioned $25,000. How are the people supposed to get that $25,000? And what do the cartels do to supplant that $25,000 if they are not able to pay that?
So we hide them. So our ministry isn't just helping Honduras. We help people in America hiding in different places. And if they don't pay that money, they either kidnap them, torture them, or they'll take it out on their family back in Honduras.
That's what I want to ask. Just presuming that a lot of these people don't have the $25,000 at hand, how are the cartels? What's the audacity of these cartels trying to think that these people can even come up with that sort of money?
If you have to come up with it, you'll find a way. So they'll come to America and they'll work in slave trafficking. And they'll take all the money and pay these cartel people.
So in other words, you're coming to America with the dream of being an American and succeeding, but for the first how many years of your life, or maybe permanently, you actually walk into slavery in a lot of these cases.
And a lot of it, would you believe that it's a mother and father and children? It's a family unit?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes just the dad comes and sends the money back, but then he finds a girlfriend, has kids, and forgets his family back in Honduras. That happens a lot.
And so the direction I wanted to take this, and I think that you're there because of our conversations in the past, is one thing that gets forgotten is Honduras has a rough population of 11 million people, and it's actually growing. So we have this notion here in the States that if we open the doors, that all these people are going to come up there, and then they don't have to deal with the poverty in Honduras, and everything is going to be great because they're just not going to be part of that anymore. But the truth of the matter is the Honduran population is actually increasing despite the immigration. So that means the people that are lucky enough to make it through the human trafficking and the crime and the danger on the migration upward, the people that are lucky to make it through are a snippet of the people that actually are dealing with the poverty in a developing nation like Honduras itself. And so it kind of begs the question, like, if you really want to make a huge difference in people that are suffering under poverty and crime, shouldn't we think about more than just opening our border?
There's two aspects. One is, I'll share just personal experience. My wife is from Peru, and I hate standing in lines at the airport, anywhere I go. And I can't imagine standing in line for an hour and then 50 people get ahead of me in the line, and I got to wait longer. And so my wife, as a Peruvian immigrant, had to go through the paperwork. We had to spend the money. We paid for the lawyer. She had to wait in line, and she did it the right way. And other people come across, and they get ahead of the line. And it's not fair to myself, wife, her family that moved here and had to pay the price. That's one angle to look at. But the solution isn't for them to come here. It's to make Honduras great again. And Honduras could be a very wealthy country, very wealthy. They have a lot of natural resources. They have agriculture they've not tapped into very much. They have a lot of recreation and tourism. It could be a very, very wealthy country. And it's not because of the politics. And when people they want to send money and it goes to the government and it doesn't help the people. It needs to go to the nonprofits that really do something, not lazy nonprofits, not ones just trying to get rich, but nonprofits that take that money and know how to use it better than the government.
Yeah. So I imagine if we as a country convinced our government that, hey, we need to let's just give a little bit more to the Honduran people, though, I imagine that doesn't end up on the ground in places like you're working or places like Comayagua.
Right. So, for example, on our farm, our goal is to feed 100,000 people a day, protein, vegetable, and fruit every day. We have the land, we have the technology, we have everything but the $11 million to do it. Or we could feed for 30 years 100,000 people on a one-time investment. But that $11 million, that's not going to go to people like us. It's going to go to the government, and they're going to spend it on themselves.
Yeah. And so when you give, I mean, if people look at an organization like yours and clearly it's making a difference, can you talk to people a little bit about what you're seeing, the impact, the City of Refuge having locally there where you're planted? What are you doing in terms of jobs? And as you've mentioned, the feeding here so far, tell us a little bit more about that.
So most nonprofits, they take a percentage. I get it for salaries. We don't take a salary. So I am a life coach. I have 15 clients, and that pays all my bills. So 100% of the money given goes to help Honduras and Peru and safe houses in America. And so we made a difference in education, because if you don't have education, you're going to fail. And that country, you need education. You can't just be a hard worker. Hard workers end up being poor. They have to be educated. And so we help with education. We help with housing. We take families out of MS-13, the gangs, and take them out and give them a safe place so they can study, live, and have a good life. We create jobs. We have over 100 employees. I could have 200 employees. I could have 500 employees if I had the money to pay them. Eventually, when we sell our food and we have a store, we're building a grocery store, it'll be done in 6 months. We'll have enough profit to be able to pay for more workers, to be able to make more profit, to keep on helping more people. So it's not just giving them free food like rice and beans, it's giving them job opportunities.
Yeah, giving people purpose and then educating them.
Yes.
Obviously we're recording today at school here in Ladysmith, Wisconsin. The Imago Dei Academy is something that my wife and I were blessed to be able to help kickstart here 4 or 5 years ago. And education is something that's dear to me. But Is that not, in terms of the next generation of Hondurans, you're doing the same thing down there? Is that not where it starts, right? At the younger ages?
Yeah, education changes a nation. So there's a lot of K through 8, but we're putting in a high school. We also have a welding college, should be up and running in 6 months. But we're also building a college to teach agriculture, business, and computers and medical and the Bible too.
The thing I liked you mentioned earlier was the idea that the people around you locally, you said you hadn't had a lot of trouble locally because the people appreciate what you're doing, right? You're making a difference.
Yeah, so we provide job opportunities. We have the best food, good food that we raise. We have a top sports facility, and we love our people because a lot of groups come in there to take, but we come to give. So we've never taken $1 from Honduras. When the money goes in, it stays in the country. Unlike business need to make money, and I get it, but we're not that way. We don't take anything back from that country.
And if you're wondering who this general soul is that we're talking to today, is Tom Stamman. He's the founder and CEO of Impact Ministries International. And one thing I want to ask you too, Tom, is what are the industries in Honduras that can be successful or are in the process of becoming something successful so Honduras as a country could be more self-sustaining?
So they're the number one country for textiles, and so that's huge. And so a lot of, your shirts and pants and all the things are made in Honduras as opposed to China. And big in agriculture. And so they're huge and big in tourism. But our goal is to do the agriculture. We want to start a company called Salsa de Tulsa, which Tulsa means old town in Indian. And we're in a very old town. And to be able to manufacture things and be able to, we have an engineer to do food processing. So they raise a lot of food, but it gets wasted because it gets old. So we want to have tomato juice and salsa and fruit juice and hot dogs and that type of thing.
So what Tom, what is your vision for the City of Refuge and where does it go from here? I mean, obviously you've expanded massively in the last 15 years and making a huge impact. What is your vision for that going forward? And what do you hope its long-term impact is on the people of Honduras?
We like to educate them through college with our university. And we like to do practical things like welding, which is needed. Even in America, they need 100,000 welders. And to work with that certain program, I can't remember what it's called, H1 something, where they come here and be able to work because average guys in America don't want to do welding, but Hondurans do. We want to be able to raise 100,000 fruit, vegetables, and protein a day from our farm. We know how to do it, just need the resources. And to be able to rescue girls from trafficking, which is an atrocity there and in America. We want a safe environment where they can learn and grow and feel loved.
What does the Honduran government think of you or organizations like yours?
And so their goal in life is to make our life as miserable as they can, and they've succeeded in many areas. The problem with the government, and number one, it's become socialist, but is that they want their money. So they go after us. They tax us. They make our life hell in all kinds of areas because they're jealous.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden you have the best school in the 4 states, and all of a sudden we're the top employer, and all of a sudden we're feeding people and top 10 sports, they notice that, and we make them look bad. Not intentionally, but that's how they think.
And could the fact that the money you're bringing into the country is distributed by you as opposed to them, not to get you in trouble here, but could that be playing a role?
Oh yeah,
just have a hunch. Okay, and I mean that's a lot, and that is such an issue with the nonprofit industry as a whole, really, and of course in places like Honduras, but everywhere is, for a lot of Christians, you think like me, and you wonder, I'm giving to an organization. When I'm giving my tithes and offerings, is what I'm giving making a difference? Is it really going where I want it to be going? Is my money really being used for God's purposes? Can you touch on that? And you did a little bit already, but when somebody makes a donation to Impact Ministries International, what kind of things they're actually producing with it? So
a lot of organizations, they take out salaries. I get it. People have to live, but thank God I transitioned. So into life coaching, and then we have Airbnbs. So we don't need to make money through our ministry. So our ministry gives away right around 1.6, I'm not saying 180,000 a month, about $2 million a year, and 100% of it goes to the cause. So we don't have to take out things like my salary. So very few organizations or churches do that, but we do that.
Yeah, And like I said, I've been fortunate to be able to spend a little time with you down there and see it, and it is a real place. What he's talking about, they're really doing. And I've seen the kids, I've seen the smiles. Like I said, I've gotten to play soccer with them. I've gotten to referee their sports events. And just the brief time I was there, and what he's talking about, it's the real deal. What do you see as the future of immigration then in Central America or countries like Honduras? Where in the world do we go from here? Are the governments down there doing anything to curb the problem or truly help themselves, or is immigration just going to continue to be a political football, depending on who's in the White House for the next 30 years as we've been dealing with it?
Unfortunately, you're probably telling the truth.
Yeah.
But there are solutions to it. And was it H-1B1?
The visas?
Visa.
Yeah.
That's the key. In agriculture, welding, hotels, all that stuff. We need people like that to come because Americans don't want to do that stuff. I get that. Construction, no offense, but nobody works harder than Hispanics in construction.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're needed, but they're needed to do it the right way. And the right way is not sneaking across the border and breaking the rules. The right way is getting the visas to come. And so if we can do that, we can work hand in hand and make those countries a better country, make Honduras great again.
You hit that. I saw that too when I was down there. I'll never forget that either, is driving through the city and then out into the countryside. And it's like 98 degrees. And I look to the roadside and there's this guy and he's in jeans and a long sleeve shirt, 98 degrees, and he's bent over bricks. And around him are stacks and stacks of, hundreds of thousands of bricks. Yeah. And this guy's working by himself in 98 degrees in jeans and a long sleeve. And I see like a wood fire. They're doing it the old fashioned way off in the distance. And I was like, incredible. This guy is just making me look awfully soft. I get stressed about dealing with the puppies and the kitties, and I could be making bricks in 98 degree weather, and my goodness. Yeah. So that's something I witnessed firsthand is the work ethic, because these people are trying to survive. So it's programmed into them. There's no alternative. And it's really incredible that way. Obviously your organization is making a difference and we want to primarily promote you, but are there any other types of NGOs or any other organizations that come to mind that are honest, good, hardworking people that are doing good things down there? And you don't have to name anybody in specific, but just other types of organizations that are making a difference in Honduras at all?
My wife would do more of that because she's there half the time. But, there's wonderful groups like YWAM, Heifer International, which helps with agriculture, and probably no offense to all us evangelicals out there, the Catholic Church is the best at humanitarian.
Yeah.
We work with the Catholic Church too.
There's certainly faults there, and it's not necessarily, in the Catholic Church itself or its structure, or certain Catholics make bad decisions, just like a lot of evangelicals make bad decisions. So as I've grown older, I've found myself, I say I'm a pro-Catholic, non-Catholic, right? We've got to work together on the big issues.
Absolutely.
And so the City of Refuge, you don't just tell people that, hey, send me a check. You invite people, hey, come on down, see what we're doing. What kind of opportunities do you provide for people to really even go hands-on, make a difference?
Yes, we've had over 2,000 people come with us down to Honduras. And so literally we can pick you up at the airport. You can fly American, United, or Evil Spirit. And we'll pick you right up at the airport, bring you right out to our place. We have our own hotel. It's safe. We have good food. And you pick and choose what you like to do. So some people do evangelism, some people do agriculture, people build things, mechanical, construction, painting, play with the kids, sports, pretty much everything, music, art, whatever you do in America, you can do at our city.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, I never even knew that you went down there until this interview, which is awesome. Yeah. Please, how long ago was it? How long were you there?
Well, we spent like 3-4 days there, and it was 3-4 years ago, maybe. It was when you had your first Olympics, athletic event for the kids. And so for me, like he talked about the different opportunities that are available down there. So like I can't fix the plumbing underneath my own bathroom sink, right? So when there was a sports opportunity, man, that's me, right? Sports for Jesus. But truly, I mean, it was an opportunity to give back. And like I said, I had experience down there that was extremely positive, and actually just getting to interact with the kids and here they got this bearded gringo guy and the kids are pulling on me and trying to steal my Gatorade and my water bottles and stuff. And not because they're thirsting or starving. They just thought it was cool to interact with me. And what an experience.
And let me brag on Dr. Jacob too. Down there, all they play is soccer. And so they know how to do goal setting and they get a kick out of it. But anyway, but he said, let's introduce him to hockey. Of course, you don't have ice. So we do street hockey. And he and his dad invested in the sticks and the balls. And our kids know how to play hockey.
Yeah. And my goal, we've talked about this the last couple of years, but obviously when you start a school, your time starts to get shorter and shorter. But I do want to get down there, and we are going to hold the first, albeit it's going to be street hockey. We are going to hold the first hockey camp in Honduras.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's going to happen. So Tom, tell people how they can connect with you, how they can donate. What's the best way to help your mission?
Okay. First, I'll give you my phone number, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And I'm a texter because I'm from Texas. Yeah. It's 612-202-6064. So you can call, you can ask me a question. Best to text because I'm traveling at meetings all the time. 612-202-6064. Or if you like to do email, you can email me at Tom, T-O-M, at tstamman.com. That's TSTAMMAN.com. Tom at tstamman.com, or go to our website, tstamman.com. TSTAMMA.
I was going to comment on the bravery there of giving out your phone number to people who might not know you, but at the same time, I'm thinking about it, and you've been through inner city Colombia and inner cities of Honduras, so I imagine there's not too much that makes you too fearful.
Those bad hombres.
Yeah.
And you also do some fantastic work in the state of Missouri, in the United States of America. What do you guys got going on over there?
So in Missouri, we have a safe house. We have 125 acres. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's an occupation where 22 people a day commit suicide in the United States, and it's vets. And so God put in my heart, I want you to put up tiny homes for vets. And so we put up 3 already. We got a down payment for the third one. It's only like $10,000 each through Amazon. Our goal is to have 22 vet homes. So we put in the septic system for that. And on that property, also have a Bible camp. So we took in at-risk kids from St. Louis. And then we have another location in Missouri with another safe house that we have taken in people. And then in Minnesota, we have a safe house in Wilmer, Minnesota, and we're building a safe house between 3 Indian reservations in Minnesota, up in northern Minnesota, called Red Lake and White Earth. And then we also are building a medical clinic in Peru. And so we're working on the 4th floor.
All right. Well, amen. So, hey, Tom, my friend, it's been good to spend more time with you again. I love connecting with you each year. And hopefully, I know you hold a lot of conferences and outreach events. And we've talked about trying to get to those again. And man, I'm chasing kids everywhere, but I hope to get to one soon and be able to connect with and spend more time with you. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Yes. Very awesome to have you, sir. Thank you very, very much. And you're tuned into the Axe and Scalpel podcast. You can find us on Podbeam, Spotify, many platforms. All you got to do is find us. And thank you very much for letting us do this every day. This is fantastic. This is a blast.
Yes,
have a blessed and wonderful day. Thank you. God bless.